What's up guys, Maelstrom here. If you enjoyed the video then like, subscribe and leave a comment down below so I can keep on making these awesome videos for you guys. Chapter 6 For Peace or Revenge. Are you ready to meet your end, Yagura? Questioned Naruto, as Yagura slowly rose to his feet. The only thing ending today is the silly rebellion. After I kill you, I will track down the twice-cursed bloodline leader of theirs and wring her neck. With the death of you two, no one will dare try and go against me ever again, and I will bring the village hidden in the mist to glory. Ranted Yagura. You are misguided as you are short, said Naruto. Yagura's body trembled with anger. His fists were clenched tightly, almost drawing blood. I see, if you are already resorting to childish insults, I will end this futile battle right now, threatened Yagura, in a low tone of voice. Naruto dropped down into his stance, hands to the side of him, fingertips facing away from Yagura. The only one childish here is you, retorted Naruto, before Yagura gave a beastly roar and charged at Naruto. Yagura thrust his pole at Naruto's stomach repeatedly, while Naruto swayed to the sides in a manner that resembled a drunk, before whirling around quickly and sending a mule kick at Yagura's face. Yagura raised his pole and blocked the foot before ducking and attempting to sweep Naruto's other leg with his pole. Naruto hopped over the pole and backflipped, before allowing ice to slowly envelop his hands, giving his hands the appearance of sharp claws, before spinning and plunging down at Yagura. Yagura jumped back and Naruto drilled into the ground, kicking up a lot of dust. So it seems that you are just as strong as one would expect a cage to be. This doesn't mean you will beat me though, as I still have a lot more tricks up my sleeve, commented Naruto from within the dust. It seems you are not all bark either, however, you stand no chance against me, replied Yagura, as the dust around Naruto's form cleared, revealing his ice claws were undamaged. Yes, well, it seems ice won't be a good match for catching you, given your small stature and dodging ability, said Naruto, much to Yagura's ire, as his ice claws receded. It seems wind however has a better chance of hitting you, said Naruto, as his hands were now engulfed in wind once again, ending in sharp-tipped claws. Joke all you want and try all you can, if I really want to, Sanbi's defense will block anything you try, said Yagura in annoyance. You shouldn't have done that. You see, I am truly curious, and now that you mention you two have a defense just like Ishibi's host does, well now I just have to see it to make a comparison, said Naruto, before kicking off the ground quickly and trying to slash Yagura. Following an uppercut-like motion, Yagura backflipped and strapped his pole to his back, before going through a few quick hand signs. Water style, exploding water shock wave, said Yagura, as a massive 10-meter-long wave of water surged at Naruto. Naruto made a few quick hand signs while thinking earth style, hidden mold jutsu before sinking into the ground. As the wave slammed down onto Naruto's position, Yagura stood there poised and ready, waiting to see where his opponent would come from. Yagura suddenly leapt into the air, as Naruto burst from the ground. You can't escape the wind, shouted Naruto, as he slashed both claws up at Yagura, releasing 10 sharp blades of wind that converged onto his position. The attack exploded upon reaching Yagura, hiding him from view. Naruto dropped down to the ground and watched as a figure fell to the ground as well. Once Yagura landed, Naruto saw pieces of coral oozing back into his skin. So that is your special defense, reminds me of Gaara's sand shield. Too bad for you, coral can't take the heat. Fire style, fireball jutsu, said Naruto, before a blast of fire roared at Yagura. As the attack met Yagura, steam started to come off it, until nothing remained. Foolish, in this village, fire attacks are weakened and water attacks are stronger and easier to pull off. You won't be able to touch me with a simple fireball, mocked the holder of the three tails, as he looked at Naruto with a smirk. Well, if that is the case, ice style, ice spears, said Naruto, before slamming his right foot into the ground, causing a wave of jagged ice spears to shoot out of the ground, seeking to impale Yagura. Yagura stood his ground and coral burst from his body, shattering the spears upon contact. Do you see now? Asked Yagura, as the coral receded back into him. You can't touch me, Yagura continued. Really now? Asked Naruto rhetorically as lava started to ooze and coalesce around his hands. Yagura inhaled deeply, before blasting multiple bullets of water at Naruto. Naruto skillfully dodged most of them, having to block the few that got to him with his claws. which started to solidify, but returned to their molten state when Naruto pushed more chakra into them. When Naruto was only a hair's breadth away from Yagura, he exploded in a blast of water, sending Naruto flying. Yagura used a water-style body flicker to arrive back onto the field, while Naruto's claws slowly crumbled to the ground, as he lay face down on the ground. Your fighting style is heavily reliant on your chakra levels, but it must be difficult to maintain nature chakra around your hands without damaging them. You are quite skilled, however, your intelligence in battle leaves much to be desired," commented Yagura, as Naruto stood back up. "True, my chakra claws do take up a lot of chakra and the control to use them is demanding, but I am a Jinchuriki, you should know we don't run out of chakra easily," said Naruto, as a wispy mist started to engulf his hands. "Plus, I think you will like these claws the most," said Naruto, before vanishing in a burst of speed, before reappearing in front of Yagura, claws poised for a downward slash. Yagura, anticipating the attack, had pulled out his pole and held it in front of him to block the attack, but much to his surprise, Naruto's claws cut right through the pole. No, perhaps cut is not the appropriate word to use in this situation. He literally dissolved the sections of the pole he came in contact with, thought Yagura, as he jumped back and observed Naruto warily. "Don't tell me your ultimate defense can't stand up to a little acid. If that is the case, you won't be alive much longer." Boil release, skilled mist jutsu, boil release, acid swirl, said Naruto, as he breathed out a wave of mist made of low pH water, while simultaneously having some of it swirl around him protectively. "It seems I can't play around with you anymore," commented Yagura, as his chakra cloak started to form around him. Line break. "Well then, shall we get this party started now?" asked Jinpachi rhetorically. "Bring it on, pear face!" shouted Amayuri, as she charged up a ball of lightning between her blades. "Chijuro, get away quickly!" said Amayuri, as she launched the ball of lightning at Kashimaru, before raising her swords over her head. Chijuro jumped back as bolts of lightning discharged off the Kiba blades, heading for all near them. "Ha, that won't stop me!" shouted Jinpachi, as he brought down his blade on Amayuri, only to be blasted away by chakra that had taken the form of a hammer, from Chijiro's blade. "Never take your eyes off the enemy," whispered Kashimaru from behind Chijiro, poised to stab his blade through his heart, only to burst into water, as a ball of lightning struck him. "He doesn't have to, you two haven't changed tactics in years and as such, you're predictable," said Amayuri. "Big words from someone not too far from death's door. How is that cough of yours?" mocked Kashimaru, as he reappeared in front of Amayuri. "Hey, it won't be enough to stop me from putting the two of you down, even if it is the last thing I do," commented Amayuri. Chijiro jumped back into the battle and swung his blade down at Kashimaru. Kashimaru swayed to the right, dodging the blade by a hair, and retaliated by kicking Chijiro in the chest, sending him flying back. Before throwing the Nwabari after him, Chijiro placed his blade in front of him to block the sewing needle, but in doing so, lost sight of both of his enemies. Chijiro gasped as he felt a presence appear behind him and cried out in pain when he felt a massive object slam into his back, before it seemingly exploded, sending him flying away. Chijiro smashed through a tree and skidded through the cold, unforgiving earth, before falling unconscious, sapped of all his remaining strength. "Tough luck, kid. You were never a match for a true swordsman," mocked Jinpachi. The victory of the two bloodline haters was short-lived, when a blade burst through Kashimaru's heart, before another blade sliced his head clean off his shoulders. "You underestimated me," said Amayuri disdainfully, as the body of the Nwabari wielder slumped to the floor. "You might think that matters, but it doesn't. I always was better than Kashimaru, and with you in your weakened state and your ally down, you won't live for much longer," declared Jinpachi before charging at Amayuri. Amayuri stood her ground and raised her two blades, before slamming them into the ground and sending an electrical charge through them, which climbed toward the sky. Jinpachi continued charging, seeking to cut Amayuri off before her technique could take effect. He touched down no less than 10 meters away from her, before leaping off the ground. 5 meters, blade raised over his head, victory was surely his. 3 meters, the seals on Shibuki started to glow. 1 meter, the blade began its descent on the unmoving swordswoman. "Lightning style, Thunder Gate," said Amayuri, Before Jinpachi knew no more, a massive wave of lightning struck everything in a 10-meter radius. Amiri had weakened its summon, shortened its range so it wouldn't hit Juro. The same could not be said for Jinpachi though. His skin that was visible was charred and flaking off. Blood oozed out of his nostrils and ears as he twitched slightly in response to the electronic charges running through his body. His heart twitched erratically, as the slow controlled beating was replaced by an erratic beating, at times stopping for a full 10 seconds, before quickly pumping at 4 times its normal speed for a few seconds. Jinpachi's nerves had lost all semblance of control as he vacated his bowels and his tongue fell out of his mouth. Literally, the muscles that had been holding it together, destroyed. As when the lightning struck, he had been unfortunate enough to have been emitting a war cry. Amiri sighed deeply, before breaking out into a coughing fit, splattering blood all over her hands and Jinpachi's corpse. Amiri's form was racked with pain. Her eyes trembled in exertion as she struggled to breathe through the harsh coughing. She dropped to her knees, hands keeping her from slumping to the ground, as she hacked up copious amounts of blood all over Jinpachi's body. Her muscles trembled with exertion as her lungs burned. Oxygen was barely getting into her system at all now. After hacking up another wad of blood, Amiri shakily got back to her feet, her entire body protesting every tiny movement she made. After a few minutes, she had regained the vertical base and most of the pain had passed, but while her instincts warned her to move, her body couldn't achieve the feat, and a thin blade pierced through her hamstring and shot right through it, before it was painfully wrenched back out of it. Amiri fell back down to her knees in pain, as she angled her head back slightly, eyes widening in shock. "Miss me?" questioned Kashimaru, in a tone full of malice. Line break. Naruto was unknowingly mirroring Amiri's pose. He too was brought to his knees, not by pain, but rather, by the new sensation of exhaustion. Being the holder of the Kiwabi, as well as an Uzumaki, had given Naruto amazing stamina, but once Yagura entered his second cloak state, which engulfed him completely, hiding his body from view, Naruto was hard-pressed to do a thing. To make things worse, all attacks Naruto had thrown had little to no effect at all on him. Even a Rasengan couldn't pierce the cloak of dense chakra surrounding the holder of the three tails. If that wasn't bad enough though, Yagura wasn't simply standing there and enduring the hits. No, he was launching debris, boulders, trees, his own tails, and at one point, a beastly wave of chakra, which obliterated everything to the west of where Naruto currently was, leaving nothing but a gaping trench that Naruto couldn't see the end of. Damn it. This is not how things were supposed to go. I guess the only reason I was able to stop Gaara was because Gamabunta held Shukaku down for me, allowing me to wake Gaara up. This guy though, I underestimated him hugely. What was I thinking? This is a freaking cage we are talking about. He set Zabuza fleeing with ease. If what Kakashi said back then is to be believed, and I don't even think I could take on Zabuza right now, thought Naruto in anger, mostly directed towards himself. I toyed with you too much thinking my stamina and chakra would never run out. I really mucked up on that, but I won't lose here today, declared Naruto, as the necklace he still wore around his neck, even after being banished, started to glow slightly. I will not lose here, shouted Naruto, as multiple spears of wood suddenly burst from the ground and shot at Yagura. To his credit, Yagura dodged each and every spear, but it seemed that Naruto was losing control of reality. "Arguha!" roared Naruto in an animalistic manner. The necklace around Naruto's neck started to glow slightly and started to sink into his skin slightly. "No, stop this!" shouted Kiwabi from within the cage, but it was to no avail, as the necklace slowly started to meld into Naruto's very being. Naruto continued screaming so much that his vocal cords were being torn to shreds, quickly regenerated, before being torn to shreds once again. Naruto's eyes had turned completely white as the metamorphosis of his body took place. Throughout this entire process though, multiple wooden spears and wooden snakes burst from Naruto's body and the ground around him, flying towards Yagura, seeking to ensnare him, to no avail, as the chakra-covered Yagura skillfully dodged every attack. Whatever is happening, he no longer seems to have any control. I must end him now, thought Yagura savagely, as he kicked off the ground with so much force that a crater formed under him. A sickly green, yellowish aura started spinning around Naruto rapidly. Logical reasoning was disappearing from his mind quickly, as the power continued increasing within his body. "You fool, you are going to tear your body to shreds and kill us both even with my healing power enhancing your own," Calm the hell down! Raged the Kiwabi from within the cage, slamming its beastly form against the bars, hoping to penetrate the thick fog that had engulfed Naruto's mind. Yagura appeared in front of Naruto, his three tails held above his head. Die! Shouted Yagura, as he plunged his tails down at Naruto's chest, only for them to be stopped by a wooden dome which partially covered Naruto and stopped Yagura's tails dead in their tracks, before exploding, sending the Mizukage flying back. By now, blood was pouring out of Naruto's eyes, ears and nose, but he persisted screaming, no longer aware of what was happening around him, not even able to form coherent speech or thought. I will not be defeated here, thought Yagura as he transformed. A column of purple chakra shot up into the sky, before expanding outwards, until it reached 20 meters in diameter. The chakra was abruptly cleared, as a beastly roar pushed all of it away, revealing Yagura in his Biju form. Yagura brought his tails up near his mouth and started forming a massive ball of chakra, which was comprised of tiny balls of blue and red chakra, which slowly came together, forming a sphere of destruction. Instead of condensing it, Yagura continued to make it larger and larger, until it surpassed the size of the Mizukage Tower, a frightening 40 meters in diameter. The ball of energy was already tearing through the ground, and more destruction to the landscape was sure to follow once the attack was released. Biyudama! Shouted Yagura, as the colossal sphere of energy was launched at Naruto. While Yagura had been forming his devastating attack, Naruto had continued screaming, and his aura had started to darken from a pale moss green to a much darker teal. His hair had slowly started to change color, turning from golden blonde to a pale green, with a yellowish tint, with a single teal bang hanging down his forehead. His muscles bulged with power and started to tear his clothes, his muscle mass seemingly tripling until it eventually tore through his shirt and turned his pants into fraying shorts. His height also increased by a large amount, bringing him up to a startling tall 2 meters, making him even taller than the tailed beast, Kisame Hoshigaki. His eyes turned completely white, no pupil or iris to be seen. The necklace which had been slowly melding with Naruto's body had now fully sunk into him, leaving only the string to which it had been threaded remaining, as the crystal was now well and truly gone. As the sphere of corrosive chakra was launched at Naruto, he started to laugh manically instead of screaming, as he raised his right hand up until it was level with the technique. Naruto's aura started to spiral and condensed around his hand, making it look like a Rasengan was about to be formed, but instead of a swirling blue ball of chakra, a colossal wooden dragon bathed in the same green glow as Naruto was ejected from his hand, rapidly enlarging. As the beastly chakra approached the dragon, it grew immensely, reaching a staggering 50 meters in length and 10 meters in width, completing dwarfing Apu, a fully grown dragon, in size. The wooden dragon opened its mouth and roared, causing the menacing ball to start to shrink until it was only 5 meters in diameter, before the dragon swallowed it whole. Yagura's eyes widened in fear as the dragon opened its mouth, the ball of chakra it had just eaten being launched at him. Yagura wrapped his tails around himself as the blast hit, but immediately after the impact, another, much more powerful force, slammed into him. The wooden dragon had spun around and slammed its tail into Yagura's side, sending him flying to the left, before lunging after him and coiling tightly around him, squeezing the very life out of him. The sensation of being squeezed was not all Yagura felt, as the dragon bit into him and starting to suck away at his chakra, causing his form to revert back to his version 2 state, which led to him suddenly falling to the ground, as the dragon was no longer holding him in place. The dragon as well plunged after Yagura, and upon impact with the ground, Yagura was also slammed from above by the monstrous construct. Naruto abruptly stopped screaming and dropped to his knees, vomiting out liters of blood that had built up in his throat due to repeatedly tearing his vocal cords and throat. After a full minute of vomiting, Naruto passed out in a pool of his own blood. Yagura lay there, barely able to think. Wait, something feels different. It is as if my thoughts have suddenly changed. What happened? Thought Yagura in confusion. Line break. Yagura is dead, commented a masked figure. Oh, is that so? Asked another figure shrouded in darkness. Yes, my control over him broke. He is not much longer of this world, said the masked figure, before disappearing into the hole in its mask in a swirl. Line break. Yagura painstakingly raised himself to his feet and limped over to his opponent. For a moment, Yagura wondered if his fellow tailed beast holder was dead, but the bubbles forming in the blood suggested otherwise, indicating that the figure was still breathing. Yagura bent down and picked the figure up, draping Naruto's arm over his shoulder, ignoring the blood that covered his form, as well as the fact that every single bone in his own body hurt. Picking him up, Yagura slowly started to limp to the position where the three swordsmen and swordswomen were fighting. Line break. Impossible, stuttered Amayuri. Oh, it is quite possible. The brute Jinpachi never did understand what silent killing was all about, swinging around a sword that explodes like an idiot, commented Kushimaru airily. Amayuri looked back at where Kushimaru's dead body had previously laid and noticed nothing there. But how? Asked Amayuri. You disappoint me. How else does one make an illusion appear to be reality? Questioned Kushimaru. Genjutsu. Since when did you know Genjutsu? Questioned Amayuri. Ah, I see. You were nothing but a brute like the rest of those other swordsmen, using nothing but Kenjutsu, along with Tai and Ninjutsu. Such a shame. It seems none of you ever realized just how effective silent killing can be with Genjutsu supplementing it. Now it is time to finish this. Goodbye Amayuri Ringo. Have no fear though, I will send that other boy passed out over there along with you, to keep you company, said Kushimaru, as he prepared to run Amayuri through her heart. Stop Kushimaru, said a voice from the tree line, to which Kushimaru instantly obeyed. Lord Yagura, I see that you have been successful as well, commented Kushimaru, as he saw Yagura stiffly walk into the clearing, with Naruto slung over his shoulder. To an extent, but that is not the main issue here, said Yagura, as he dropped Naruto's body to the ground near Amayuri, as he stood near Kushimaru. And Naruto, are you alright? Asked Amayuri quietly. Chakra exhaustion, muttered Naruto, eyes still closed. Now that you are conscious once again, I believe it is time to explain what has recently come to light, said Yagura. What about Chijiro? Asked Naruto weakly. No, it is best he not know of this, it doesn't concern him, nor is he mature enough to handle it, said Yagura. Kushimaru, you have served me faithfully for years and thus I believe it is only fair you hear this as well. What you do with this information is up to you, said Yagura, turning to one of his most loyal followers. Yagura sat down tiredly, while Kushimaru stood close to him, eyeing Naruto and Amayuri, who were in no position to move. Before the start of these purges I am sure you, Amayuri, and of course you, Kushimaru, knew I was never exceedingly cruel. I may have been harsh and indifferent to lots of things, but I loved my people, began Yagura tiredly. Amayuri went to rebut this statement, but Naruto weakly raised his hand, showing that she should remain silent. You see, about 7 or so years ago, I was confronted by a man. This man however, possessed a Sharingan, continued Yagura before breathing in heavily. As it was, he placed me in an exceedingly strong genjutsu that not even the Sanbi could break, which slowly started to take over my thoughts. With this, I became a puppet for this man, said Yagura disdainfully. His only motive for doing so was this: the village hidden in the mist made me suffer, therefore, I will make the village hidden in the mist suffer as well. And that was that last thing I heard before he took over my mind, revealed the weary Mizukage. So you mean to say you are not the one behind this entire farce of a war? How can we believe that? Asked Amayuri angrily, before coughing heavily and dry heaving some more blood. I suggest you not get too agitated. Like me, you are not much longer for this world either. That being said, I spared the life of your friend and even now had Kushimaru spare your life. Isn't that enough proof? Questioned Yagura. Kushimaru stood there impassively while all this was being said, merely taking it all in. Amayuri growled slightly, but then stopped and nodded for Yagura to go on with a small frown on her face. I don't know what his ultimate goal is, but he was powerful enough to subdue the combined efforts of me and Senbi. He is not to be trifled with, said Yagura, before coughing heavily, wheezing for air. With that being said, I have to say, this war was a mistake, and that the masked man succeeded in making Mist suffer. However, there is something that can be done now, said Yagura weakly. Naruto struggled to push himself into a seating position, but after a bit of a nudge from Amayuri, he was able to sit up. What can we do now? Out of the 4 of us here, you are clearly the strongest and he beat you easily, asked Naruto weakly. Not we, you 3. Kushimaru, you have served me loyally and thus this choice is entirely up to you. Whatever you decide, I won't hold anything against you, said Yagura. Kushimaru was inwardly touched at how much Yagura valued him. Truly, he made no mistake in following such a great man, even if he had been under someone's control for a portion of his reign. Yagura truly was a great man. As for you two though, Amayuri, your sickness is no secret, and Naruto, everyone saw my explosive attacks. It would not be too difficult for you two to pretend you died and train and prepare in secret. The fact that neither of you will leave a body behind should not draw too much attention, given the intensity of my previous attacks. It would not be a stretch if people assume you two were simply obliterated. Kushimaru, whatever you decide, with my death, many will assume you had either perished, or fled with me. You three will be invisible to all, hence why I am not revealing this to that boy over there. It would be best that only the four of us know of this," said Yagura, before coughing once again. "If this man is powerful enough to subdue someone like you out of petty spite, well, he must have something big planned, and with your death, he will think no one knows of him. You are indeed worthy to be a Kage, not just through your strength, but through your cunning," complimented Naruto, seeing where this was going. "Lord Yagura, you have my word, I will track down the man who did this to you, to us, to Mist, and I will make him regret it," said Kushimaru. "Thank you, Naruto." "Kushimaru, I am glad to see you understand what has happened and what must be done," said Yagura, before looking pointedly at Amayuri. "What, I am just as dead as you are, does my opinion even count?" asked Amayuri with a fanged grin, as blood trickled from her mouth. "Not necessarily. I don't have much longer, but you, Naruto, you utilized wood-release jutsu against me in a sub-primal state. You weren't aware of it, but you did in fact do it. That necklace around your neck melded with your very being and empowered you. While I am beyond saving due to the damage I sustained from our fight, Amayuri may still be saved, as her cause of death is an illness. It is said Hashirama could instantly regenerate any damage he took. With you having his necklace and wood style, along with you being a Jinchuriki host, you may be able to save her. Even if you can't access your wood release, the Kiwabi is thought to be the strongest Biju and may just have another way," said Yagura. "Why can't he save you?" asked Amayuri. "Wood style suppresses Biju chakra, add to the massive amount of damage I took in the fight itself. Well, let's just say I have only minutes to go," said Yagura dryly. "However, there is one thing I want you to do for me, Naruto," said Yagura seriously. "What?" asked Naruto confused. "The masked man said something about Biju falling before him. I want you to take Sanbi inside of you as well," said Yagura, getting 3 gobsmacked expressions, with one being hidden behind a mask. What?" questioned Naruto. "Sanbi has suffered enough, and I don't want it at the mercy of ninja. You, as a Jinchuriki, can understand that while we are also given a burden in holding them, they are also burdened in being held by us. Despite this though, if we work together, we are much better off," said Yagura. "But I'm not sure how," said Naruto. "And certainly, can you show me your seal?" requested Yagura. Naruto obliged and pulled up his shirt and shakily channeled some chakra, revealing the 8 trigram seal. It seems the fourth was pretty skilled if he came up with something like this. However, this works out well. "Would you know about the 4 trigram sealing style?" asked Yagura. "Yeah, but I'm not sure I can pull one off properly yet. I need more practice," said Naruto. "That's alright, I have a 4 trigram seal, ironically enough, done by Uzumaki. She was nice enough to explain how it worked to me as well, so I can do it for you this time, but please read up on them soon, so you can maintain the seal. A 4 trigram seal weakens much faster than an 8 trigram seal due to the lack of a reversed spin, meaning its life is short-lived without maintenance, lasting only 5 years or so before breaking," said Yagura, before coughing up some blood onto his left hand and dipping his right finger in it, before drawing a swirl above Naruto's existing 8 trigram seal, before surrounding it with a few kanji. "Kushimaru, live well and know that this Kage was lucky to have a loyal follower such as you." "Seal transfer," said Yagura, before placing his palm over the newly drawn seal. Yagura's body was engulfed with blue chakra. Before it transferred across to Naruto, Naruto gave a silent scream, as the new chakra invaded his system, stretching his coils painfully. After a minute of this, Yagura slumped forward slightly. "It is done," said Yagura, before his eyes closed and he fell forward, dead. A strange silence engulfed the trio as two mourned at the loss of a leader and a fellow tailed beast holder, while the third sat there in silence. The silence was broken however, when Amayuri's form started to heave. As she coughed up blood, her very body began to shake, almost as if it was going to fall apart. "Fox, any ideas?" asked Naruto desperately. "Why should I help your friend? Her existence in no way affects me," retorted Kiwabe. "Please, she has wasted her life in a worthless war. Don't let her life end like this. Have some compassion," pleaded Naruto. Interesting, he was almost suicidal and almost completely apathetic only a short while ago, but it seems being faced with death so readily has brought back some of the old Naruto. "I can't believe I'm doing this. She better be worth it," thought Kiwabe. "Fine, but you won't like this after I explain what I am doing. For now channel my chakra and bite deeply into her left wrist," said Kiwabe. Kushimaru watched on apathetically as one of his fellow sword-wielders died, not having any way to save her, nor the inclination to. Naruto grabbed Amayuri's left arm. "Sorry about this, I will explain it later when I know what I'm doing," said Naruto, before he let Kiwabe's chakra envelop him, before biting into Amayuri's wrist, piercing deeply into her skin. Amayuri gasped at the action, before convulsing slightly, as a strange feeling of warmth spread through her body. "What am I, a masochistic?" thought Amayuri, before passing out, unconscious but alive. "Kushimaru, grab Yagura, we need to leave. You don't have to stick with us, but the rebels won't let Yagura rest in peace," said Naruto, before he painfully picked up Amayuri's form, wincing at the extra weight he had to carry before walking off. Kushimaru stared at the back of the blonde until he was barely visible. "For you, Lord Yagura, I will get you your retribution," muttered Kushimaru, as he picked up the body of his former leader, before following after his new companions. Chapter 7 Burn once more. "Well Zetsu?" asked a masked man, as a two-tone plant-like creature slowly rose from the ground in the cave both were currently inhabiting. "I don't understand what happened. Yagura's body was nowhere to be found and there is no evidence that the tailed beast has escaped, or been killed, unlike last time," said Zetsu. The masked man nodded slightly before relaxing. "I see, this is a rather unexpected twist. Nothing too serious, yes. Something that can be overlooked however. No. Zetsu, I want you to assign Kisame and Itachi to go and investigate the recent battle site of the late Mizukage. Together they should be able to pick up on any tricks that may have been used to hide any evidence of the Sanbi, as well as deal with any opposition," ordered the masked man calmly. "No problem, it will be done," said Zetsu, before sinking back into the ground once again. Line break. Two cloaked figures sat outside a desolate tea shop, located on the eastern edge of the Land of Fire, situated on the side of Dusty Road. The shop serving as a quick pit stop for weary travelers, before they would head off again. The shop was relatively well maintained, with only a slight indication of age in the form of chipped paint around the property. The shorter of the two figures sat carefully, monitoring their surroundings, seemingly waiting for a sign, as he calmly sipped his green tea. As a man's head started to emerge from the ground, the shorter man's red eyes spun quickly, masking their presence from anyone who happened to pass by. "You two have a new mission, go and investigate the site of the recent battle between Yagura and the rebels," said the head, before sinking back down into the ground without a trace. "Aw Itachi, looks like I will get to show you around my old stomping grounds," said the larger of the two. Itachi didn't respond and continued to sip his tea calmly. "You really are one emotionless guy," commented the larger man with a fanged grin, revealing multiple sharp teeth. Itachi set his empty cup down on the table. "You talk too much Kisame, come," said Itachi, before standing up and walking off. Line break. Two ninja walked silently through the mist, each of the two carrying a burden on their back. Neither was particularly in the mood to talk, considering that the two had previously been on opposite sides of a civil war and wouldn't have hesitated to kill each other. One couldn't really blame them. The taller one was leading the younger one to a specified point. The younger was deep in thought at the new power he could feel within him but could not grasp, no matter how hard he tried. He knew the power was there, hiding, just underneath the surface, but for all the good it did him, it might as well have been buried in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, because he had no idea how to access it. "There has to be a way, I just know it," thought a frustrated Naruto, as he struggled to reach even a small amount of his new power that he had recently unlocked. Beside Naruto walked the thin figure of Kashimaru. The wiry man carried the late Mizukage on his back with ease, despite what his figure would suggest, walking dutifully and purposefully to where he decided his would lay his leader to rest. Kashimaru glanced disdainfully at the women slumped over Naruto's shoulders. He remembered the day when his comrades had turned on Yagura one by one. First, Fugyuki Saikazen, the one who preached about how protecting vital information was more important than one's own life. The selfish hypocrite had been leaking information to their enemies, leading to the deaths of many mist ninja. How Kashimaru wished he could have been the one to cut that blubbering traitor down, but alas, Kisame Hoshigaki received that honor. Then Kisame himself had betrayed them, the circumstances of which were murky at best. However, all Kashimaru needed to know was that he had left the Mizukage and sought his own goals. Then, Zabuza Momoki. Kashimaru hated Zabuza. The audacity he had, to actually try and assassinate Yagura, the man who gave him the chance to flourish. What was even more insulting, was Zabuza actually thought he would have been able to defeat Yagura on his own with only a dozen or so men to help him. The very thought disgusted him. Lastly, the woman slumped over the shoulder of the boy walking next to him. Amayuri Ringo. By far he hated her the most. He hated that she was a woman, he hated that she had more victories over him than he had over her, he hated that when she defected, she took Jinen's head with her, but most of all, he hated her. Kashimaru never did know why, but he knew that everything about Amayuri irritated him, from her hair to her clothes, to her mannerisms and to her attitude. He hated her. However, Yagura had earned his loyalty and for that Kashimaru would shelve his hatred to achieve the mission, but should Amayuri step out of line in any way, or even partially hint at an insult towards Yagura, he would not hold back. "We are here," said Kashimaru, causing Naruto to stop walking. The place they were currently standing in was a small grove of frozen trees. It was in a more frigid area in the land of water. The trees themselves were stripped bare of all leaves and small icicles hung off the branches instead. The ground was covered in a thin layer of snow at all times, reaching up to a meter in winter, making it hard to get around. Luckily, it was autumn currently and the snow was only up to ankle level as of now. A small amount of light managed to penetrate the huddle of trees, but it was nowhere near enough to melt any of the snow. Rather, it had the effect of making the snow glisten slightly, making them appear to be diamonds from afar. Both Naruto and Kashimaru, in a moment of mutual understanding, carefully placed down their burdens and proceeded to form Yagura's grave with ninjutsu, a leader to one and a respected adversary to the other, but to both, a ninja worthy of respect. The grave was created not under the base of the largest tree in the grove as one would expect, but rather, under the smallest, not because Yagura was small in stature, but rather, because his contributions would not be seen for their worth, just as he himself would not be appreciated for what he accomplished. The grave was not adorned with anything extravagant, but rather, kept plain, as remaining hidden as the true mark of a shinobi. After a few minutes, Naruto picked up Amayuri and walked away a short distance, to give Kashimaru a chance to say his personal farewells. Kashimaru ensured that Naruto was out of seeing distance, before dropping down on his knees and taking his mask off, head bowed with his hair obscuring his visage from the world. "Yagura, you are my role model. I would follow you to the grave if you would have let me, but it seems fate has decided against this. I will bring your soul justice and make sure that the fiend who managed to take control of you is punished several-fold. He will pay in blood for the suffering you endured. I make this promise to you, that when I see you in the afterlife, I will be able to tell you I have attained retribution, not only for the suffering our people, but more importantly, for your suffering at the hands of that man," said Kashimaru, bowing one last time after speaking, before affixing his mask and standing up, walking away after a man who understood, to some extent, how great Yagura was, and a woman who he hated personally on a fundamental level. Line break. Chijiro woke with a groan, his head and back were still throbbing in pain, flashes of white were dancing across his vision making him squint his eyes in annoyance. "Ah!" shouted Chijiro, as he quickly sat up, before crying out in pain, as his back protested the sudden movement. Looking around, Chijiro saw he was in a tent and this hinted heavily that he was no longer near the battlefield anymore, but rather, back in the rebel main camp. Shortly after his gasp of pain, a medical ninja came in and quickly ran a diagnostic on him to ensure that aside from the obvious bruised ribs, Nothing else was wrong with him. After a few short minutes, the medical ninja was satisfied and quickly went back outside. Chijiro sat there, slightly nervous as to what would happen next, which only intensified when both O and Mai walked in. Mai pulled a stiff, brown, wooden chair from beside Chijiro and set it at the foot of his bed, in order to face him directly, without needing him to rotate his upper body in any way and possibly hurt himself. O stood stiffly to the side and placed a stern gaze directly on Chijiro, causing Chijiro to swallow in apprehension. "Chijiro, I realize you have been through quite an ordeal, but there are some answers we need, and it is imperative we get them now before making our next move," said Mai calmly, relaxing Chijiro slightly. Chijiro nodded nervously as he waited for Mai to ask what it was she needed to know. "What happened with your team after Ganryu and Kiri left your squad and came to support me? You need not repeat anything before that point, as I am well aware of everything that happened before," asked Mai, before gesturing for Chijiro to speak. "Well, Yagura, Kushimaru and Jinpachi confronted Naruto, Amayuri and myself. After a short conversation, Naruto forced Yagura away from us and pursued him, separating the battle between the four of us and the two of them. Jinpachi and Kushimaru proved to be very formidable opponents. Sadly, I was not able to last against the two for very long and was rather quickly knocked out, leaving Amayuri to fend for herself against the two. I can be sure, since my vision was heavily blurred from the pain of the attack that sent me flying, before shortly sending me into unconsciousness, but I think I saw Amayuri just about to cut down Kushimaru. There is not much I can say about Naruto's battle with Yagura, as I did not see them fight, nor did I hear anything too destructive from their battle," said Chijiro plainly. "Not destructive if only you saw the site of their battlefield," muttered O, getting a perplexed look from Chijiro. "Indeed, O speaks the truth. Less than half a kilometer from where we found you was a heavily battle-scarred area. It was clear that Yagura was pushed into using his beast and many of its powers, judging by how deep and long some of the trenches around that area are, not to mention the telltale signs of various elemental jutsus and the large amount of blood found on the scene. I fear, however, that most of that blood was Naruto's, however we do not know for sure," said Mai in a grim tone of voice. "What do you mean, can't Naruto tell you of his fight, and what of Amayuri?" asked Chijiro in confusion. To this, Mai sighed heavily for a moment, before looking Chijiro in the eye with a firm expression. "Aside from you, the only other body found at the two battlefields was that of a heavily burnt and dead Jinpachi. Significant traces of blood belonging to Naruto and Amayuri were found at their respective battle sites. The same, however, cannot be said for Yagura and Kushimaru. It is entirely likely that since Yagura's forces are no longer advancing and have very little in the way of leadership right now, that Yagura is dead. It would not be too much of a stretch to assume Kushimaru met with a similar fate. However, since no trace of him was found at the battlefield, this is purely speculation. It is possible that the two have retreated to recover, or, also possible, is it that they have taken Naruto and Amayuri captive and may try to extract some information from them, given that it appears that the two of them were the losers of their respective battles. From what we can gather, despite the high probability of this being the case, it has now been close to 36 hours since anyone has been able to place a location to Kushimaru and Yagura's whereabouts. Add this to the large number of his forces that are now surrendering to us and the fact that no one has seen either of the two. We are operating under the premise that all four of them, Yagura, Naruto, Kushimaru and Amayuri, perished in their battles," explained Mai in an eloquent manner. What?" stuttered Chijiro in shock. "Yes, I too am slightly surprised at the outcome, while I didn't expect the battle to be an easy one," said Mai, before trailing off. "The fact that Amayuri, Naruto, Yagura, and Kushimaru are all unaccounted for is very peculiar and seems to suggest something off," spoke up O, confusing Chijiro. "What are you saying?" asked Chijiro in confusion. "O is of the opinion that a third party may have gotten involved in the battles. He is also of the opinion that it is possible that," said Mai before O interjected. "Naruto is a traitor," said O darkly. Why would Naruto be a traitor? For what reason?" asked Chijiro bewildered. "For the leaf, for the sand, for himself. We know he was a leaf ninja and the whole circumstance behind his banishment sounds fishy. Even the scenario in which he met me was suspicious," elaborated O. "Lady Mai, do you agree with O?" asked Chijiro. Mai looked at Chijiro unflinchingly, her firm gaze boring into his youthful visage. I have not ruled out the possibility, said Mai, stunning Chijiro. Line break. In a dark underground cavern, a heavily bandaged man sat on a throne. 2 snake heads made up the armrests, while the seat itself looked to be made out of bones. The bandaged man was all but covered, showing only a single amber eye, with a slit pupil, and pale gray hair. Bound in front of him stood a man, with black-rimmed circular glasses and onyx eyes, along with ash-gray hair. So what is this news you have for me, Kabuto? Asked the bandaged man. Kabuto rose to his feet and pressed his glasses up. There is interesting news coming out of the village hidden in the mist. Apparently, Yagura is no more, and a new Mizukage by the name of Maitarumi, a dual bloodline holder, has taken over, said Kabuto with a small smirk. While this is indeed interesting, I fail to see what has you so excited, Kabuto. You are practically panting in excitement, replied the bandaged man. Of course, Lord Orochimaru, normally such news would not be enough to excite me. However, it seems that all but one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, barring Kisame of course, perished in the battle, said Kabuto, pushing up his glasses once more. And Kabuto, while I do appreciate your manner of delivering information in your normal evasive manner and respect the certain flair it gives, I am tiring of this conversation, said Orochimaru, in an amused tone of voice. Well, it seems the person who fought against Yagura was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, said Kabuto in amusement. Surely you jest. While I did see the potential in the young boy after he managed to fight you off for a period of time, Yagura is well beyond your level, said Orochimaru. Kabuto brushed a hand on his chest briefly, before pushing his glasses up once again. Yes, Yagura is beyond my level, that is true. However, it seems young Naruto has more potential than even you foresaw, said Kabuto. Really, Kabuto? I have not been known to make many mistakes. Why do you say I have made one now? Asked Orochimaru curiously. Well, you do remember a few months ago when I reported that one of Danzo's men had been felled with a unique type of attack, lava style, if you recall, explained Kabuto. Orochimaru nodded in understanding and waited for Kabuto to continue. Well, it seems that Naruto may have had more surprises up his sleeve than either of us would have thought, said Kabuto. Must you continue this dance of words, Kabuto? Asked Orochimaru in slight exasperation. Sorry, Lord Orochimaru, I am merely trying to keep our new guest interested, said Kabuto, before glancing over his right shoulder slightly. What have you found out about Naruto, Kabuto? Asked an aloof voice. The figure who had just spoken was shrouded in darkness, and all that was visible were his 2 red eyes. It seems Naruto possesses not only lava style but also boil and ice style, said Kabuto, with a small smirk. Is that all? Asked the figure. Not quite, it seems I forgot to mention one more bloodline, said Kabuto before pausing. And that would be? Asked Orochimaru, now very interested. Yes. It seems Naruto was able to counter, or rather, based on the pattern of damage, reverse Ibiya Udama using wood style, said Kabuto, causing Orochimaru's one lone eye to widen significantly. Are you certain, Kabuto? Asked the figure in the darkness. Indeed, the battlefield still bears the signs of battle, with an exceedingly large trench and various woody projections scarring the ground, answered Kabuto happily. What will you do now, Sasuke? Asked Orochimaru teasingly. My priority is Itachi, never forget that. However, should I cross paths with Naruto, I will crush him, bloodlines or not, said Sasuke, as his eyes spun, before turning on his heel and leaving. My, it seems Sasuke is not taking the news very well, said Kabuto. Is there more, Kabuto? You are still here? Asked Orochimaru curiously. Yes. There was one other thing I neglected to mention in the presence of Sasuke. How negligent of me, said Kabuto with a chuckle. And? Asked Orochimaru. There have been no signs of the Sanbi being released or respawning, said Kabuto. A tailed beast would not respawn immediately, it would take some time. However, no signs of the Sanbi being released. That is very interesting. It seems my old associates will not be happy, said Orochimaru, before laughing darkly, his laughs echoing in the dark cavern. Line break. The cloaked figures of Itachi and Kisame arrived at the site of the recent battle between 2 Jinchuriki. The landscape was heavily scarred with the signs of extensive ninjutsu usage. Well, Looks like there was quite the battle here. To think that little brat who trembled in fear just from seeing me, could have been a part of this battle," said Kisame with a whistle. "Keep in mind, Kisame, your appearance is not exactly commonplace. Also, I believe it was I who made young Naruto tremble in fear, not you," said Itachi. "Oh, are you trying to suggest that you are more intimidating than I?" asked Kisame with a fanged grin. The Sharingan wielder turned slowly, his gaze boring into that of his partner. "Yes," said the Mangekyo-wielding ninja. "Hiya, Itachi, you sure are serious, even for you. What is the matter, run out of Pocky again?" mocked Kisame. Itachi's glare intensified as his Mangekyo Sharingan seemed to pierce into Kisame's very soul. "Never mention such a thing again," said Itachi, before walking off. Kisame merely grinned and followed Itachi deeper into the battle site. Kisame marveled at the destruction. Being somewhat of an expert on being destructive, Kisame could say with certainty that both parties involved in this battle were heavy powerhouses. It honestly made him wonder what could have allowed the timid, fearful boy he had seen only a few months ago become strong enough to be able to go toe-to-toe with Yagura, a man Kisame knew was very powerful and capable of leveling towns with one attack, not counting what he could do with the help of his tailed beast. Kisame observed Itachi as he walked around, noting that Itachi seemed particularly curious with what looked to be some smashed trees to Kisame. "What are you staring at, Itachi? With all this destruction around, why are you fixating on a pile of firewood?" asked Kisame curiously. Itachi didn't respond for a while before he suddenly released a large amount of chakra in the form of black flames upon the wood. Kisame stood by silently, waiting for Itachi to explain what it was that made Itachi suddenly use such a powerful technique on a small piece of wood. His curiosity was piqued when after a full minute the wood remained unburnt, aside from a few small scorch marks. After 5 minutes, Kisame was baffled that the wood had been able to last as long as it had, against the hellish flames of Amaterasu. After 10 minutes with no change, Itachi ceased his attack on the pile of wood and studied the wood intently. Itachi brushed a hand over the wood and noticed the wood which had been lightly scorched flaked off, leaving perfectly unblemished wood once again. Itachi stood up and started to walk away, Kisame following after shortly. "So Itachi, any ideas as to why a small clump of wood was able to stand against one of your strongest attacks?" asked Kisame seriously. "I believe so. It begs further investigation, but without capturing young Naruto, finding out the facts will be difficult. For now though, let us continue looking for any trace of the Sanbi, before reporting back," said Itachi carefully, before continuing to follow the trail of chakra belonging to Yagura. Line break. After some time, both Kashimaru and Naruto silently agreed on stopping to make camp for a few hours. The unlikely trio, including a still unconscious Amayuri, settled in a small misty grove, wanting to remain hidden at all costs. Kashimaru was not inclined to begin speaking and Naruto was still in thought, so silence prevailed around the campsite. Naruto had now moved on from thinking about the hidden power he couldn't reach and was more curious about what to do from this point onwards. "Since both Mist and Leaf are now no longer an option for travel, what should I do? I mean, I could go back to Whirlpool Village, but then again, it is kind of run down. However, it would be an excellent place to train freely," thought Naruto, before glancing at Amayuri and Kashimaru. Although what about Kashimaru and Amayuri? They too are in this situation with me. We will need to come up with a plan of some sort. After all, if one of us is seen in public, that might tip the masked man off. We all need to remain hidden until we are ready, and quite frankly, I am not ready yet," continued Naruto in thought, before hearing Amayuri stir. "Ugh, I feel like crap," mumbled Amayuri, as she woke from her long slumber. "You look like it too," said Kashimaru snidely. "Aw, shut up, I'm not ready to deal with you just yet, Screechy," said Amayuri with a wince. "You never will be, it seems. I did have your life in my hands a couple days ago, never forget that. You would be dead right now if Lord Yagura hadn't stopped me," continued Kashimaru. "Why, you scrawny little pencil neck, I will crush you," shouted Amayuri, now sitting up and glaring hatefully at Kashimaru. "Okay, calm down, now isn't the time to start fighting, besides, we need to discuss what to do now," said Naruto calmly, being the voice of reason. The irate redhead looked at Naruto balefully. "And exactly who put you in charge?" asked Amayuri, with steel in her voice. "Hey, I did save your life, Don't you think you shouldn't attack the person who saved you?" said Naruto in slight annoyance. Amayuri just stared at Naruto with a narrow gaze, before huffing and turning away from him. "Okay, now that everyone is awake, do you guys have any ideas as to what we should do now?" asked Naruto. "I say we find a secluded area to train until we are sufficiently ready to kill the masked man," suggested the masked member of the group. "I think it would be prudent to do a bit more research on just who this man is. Knowing about his skills and possible accomplices will make it easier to take him down later on," added the redhead of the group. "I was thinking something similar to Kashimaru, but getting some information on what we are up against wouldn't be a bad idea," commented the blonde, as he stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Well, whatever we decide, we will need a base of operations, a place where we can move around relatively undisturbed," said Amayuri. "Well, I have an idea for a base of operations. It was actually a place I discovered before getting to the Land of Water. It is very run down, pretty much destroyed, but no one would ever disturb us. All we would have to do would be to make it habitable, would be to fix up the buildings a bit, and maybe grow a few plants, and it should suffice for our needs," explained Naruto. "How exactly are we going to do that? None of us here are particularly good horticulturists," asked Amayuri. Not too sure yet, but I also have some ideas for that. However, I think this needs to be asked, can we, or rather, do we, want to work together on this whole thing? I know it was kind of agreed upon informally, but I feel that we should each be sure of our motives and opinions on the matter," said Naruto softly. "Yagura entrusted you with the Sanbi and saw fit to warn you that the masked man will be coming after you, more so because now you contain two-tailed beasts. While I could go off on my own, I feel that it is only right that I honor one of Yagura's last wishes, as indirect as it was, to protect the tailed beasts. Yagura entrusted you with his, as he wanted to keep it safe, therefore, I will do my part to keep you and by extension, it, safe from the masked man. Finally, when the masked man does reveal himself, I will do my duty and take him down. All I need to do now is wait," said Kashimaru seriously. "I had already accepted that I would die in this final battle, if not from my illness, then, in battle. I was so close to death's door that I could practically see the Reaper beckoning for my soul. However, you gave me a second chance. I will stick by your side, to help you and protect you. After all, I am a woman who repays her debts, and since you saved my life, I will make sure that I save your life as well," said Amayuri with a smile. "Thank you, both of you. I don't know if I would have been able to do this on my own. I have lost so much already and gained little. This life has not been particularly kind to me. However, as long as I have people that I can call my friends, as long as I have people who will fight beside me, as long as I have a goal that I believe is worth fighting for, I will never give up. I give you both my word that the three of us will stand together and get justice for the village hidden in the mist, justice for everyone who needlessly died in this war, justice for those who are now orphaned and those who lost their children, justice for Yagura. This I swear, for with your help, I promise to be not only a fighter for a group of rebels, nor warrior for the oppressed such as the Jinchuriki. No, I promise to be the guardian of the mist. Believe it," said Naruto passionately, the fire which had been waning in his soul, now ablaze once more. That's the end of this part, guys. If you want the next part, then like, subscribe and leave a comment saying so. This is Maelstrom signing off.